While we talk, I'm spinning on my Louet S-10 spinning wheel. Mine is very old, between 25 and 30 years I think, and I was needing a new flyer. Louet is of course still in business, still makes good flyers, and they have a new kind with a sliding hook rather than the old series of hooks all along each side that I thought would be really nice. However, their price is about $100. Here is, I'm stopping it so you can see. And although I'm sure it's worth $100 and it comes with its own spindle, my spindle was still in good shape and I did not have $100 to spend. So of course I asked Jack, and he came up with what you see me spinning on. We collaborated. He made the spindle because my carpentry skills aren't that good. I just misspoke. He made the flyer because my carpentry skills aren't that good. I made a couple of tries and mine basically worked, but they were floppy. But I came up with this and I thought you'd like to see it. This is just a jump ring that was a figure-8 one, and I readjusted it using pliers so that it fit neatly around the dowel that's part of my flyer. This is an O-ring from a mixed package in the plumbing department at Walmart, and it turns out it makes an easy adjustable hook. In just a second I'll adjust it so you can see. This is a little easier. There we go. And on we spin. Now I have only been trying this for a couple hours, but I can't see any reason why it's not going to be a success for a long time. And we did this all with odds and ends in the hardware that we had sitting around in our workroom. So it cost considerably less than $100. And I thought that my fellow spinners who are also short of money might like to see how it works. I'm going to let Jack explain to you how he put together the flyer and what dimensions were important while I continue to spin.
Okay, making a flyer for Catherine's spinning machine. And there's actually one for sale online, and they want $95 for it, and that is not going to happen in this household. Now there's a couple things you have to be careful of. The size of the orifice that accepts this bushing is very, very precise. So what you need is something like this, which is called a hole gauge. Alright, we go down through here, and it looks like, wow, 10 millimeters is really tight. Let's go to the American side and see what we get. 7/16 is 11 millimeters, and that's too loose. So we've got to have a metric size in here, and probably it's going to be, we need a 10 millimeter drill bit, because the drill bit in wood is always going to make just a slightly larger hole because the wood is so soft. If you were drilling in steel, it would be more precise. So you need a 10 millimeter drill bit in order to make this hole to accept this spindle. Now, here's what we've got to do. We've got to match that hole, and we've got to allow for the bobbin to go in. Now, if you'll notice, there's your critical dimension right there. That has to spin freely, but not so far away that the yarn can't travel through the hook on the side. And if you'll notice, this is where your drive rope goes, and so you got to have enough clearance right here from the end of this. So your dimension is the length of this side piece and the length of this crossbar, and it's going to be a little bit different for your spinning wheel depending on which spinning wheel you have. But your bobbin has to fit in smoothly, and you can't there's a crossbar. You've seen Catherine spinning. The crossbar that connects the front and back stanchions of your spinning wheel can't hit here. So
this is the crossbar that Jack is speaking of. If you make your flyer overly generous, it'll bang into the crossbar, not what we're after.
Let's go to the actual making of this flyer. Now, what's really important is that the join here be very secure. You can't have any lateral play in there at all because, well, it's spinning and you don't want it to wobble and shake when you're using it. You notice what we've done here is exactly what I saw in the picture that they had on the internet. I've cut away this cross piece in a circular fashion so that the round of my side pieces will fit right into it. Then when the screw goes through the end and bites into my cross piece, I've got a nice firm join. Now, how did we do this? The easy way. I can explain pretty easily with a couple of pieces of dowel. This is a prototype. Get yourself, now if you were going to cut this piece of dowel to fit, get yourself a strap of some kind. A belt will work, or you may have, as I do in my toolbox, what's called a wraparound. And all we want to do is we want to go around the piece snugly so that we can make a line that goes evenly around the dowel. And that's what the wraparound does. It lets you line it up so you get a nice perpendicular line. Now, having made a center line, stand up the piece of dowel that you're going to use and just trace around it. Try to get right in the middle. And bear in mind, this is not going to be a perfect semicircular pattern because it dips down. But now what you've got is a circle with a line through it. So what you're going to do is put this in your miter box so that you know you're cutting right through the center of the circle with your miter saw. Then, if you start here with your cut with your coping saw, you can cut this piece out on one side and this piece out on the other side. Now what you would do ideally is start right here at the end so that your circle gives you a little bit to cut with, cut it with the miter box, and then cut this half circle out. That's exactly how we got this half circle here to put this piece of dowel into. Do the same thing on the other end. Now, bear in mind, we talked about the critical dimension. One of the things you have to do is, outside to outside, is the total size that this can be in order to not hit the crossbar. So you've got to take the diameter 3/4 here, 3/4 here, take it off of this total length, and then take out for where you're going to cut that out.
May I add something?
Yes.
We used 3/4 inch dowels. I don't think that is absolutely essential. I think anything from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch would probably be workable. These are high quality hardwood dowels. There are cheap craft store dowels that I wouldn't recommend. They cut much more easily, but they also wear out much more easily. And I did notice one thing. I got by with it, but when we measured, I didn't allow for the thickness of this O-ring because I hadn't come up with this plan yet, and it just barely fits into the whole critical distance issue. It does fit, so I'm happy with it, but you probably would, if you're going to use this method, want to allow for the depth of your O-ring.
Use your wraparound to mark all the way around this, and then make your X on the mark of your wraparound, and then the center of the dowel, and it helps to make a little dimple to start with. But you have to go straight through the dowel. If you get any kind of a twist this way or this way or up and down in the circumference, that's why I say mark your wraparound. The easiest way to do this is take a tiny, tiny bit and go from both sides, and then take a larger bit and go through the two holes. It helps you keep it lined up. If you have a drill press, use your drill press, and that'll take away the random factor of doing it by hand. Now, what you do is you get some really coarse sandpaper, you roll it up just like I've done here. Once you've made this cut, with your coping saw. Just keep fitting the outside dowel into it and sanding it. The curved, round will help you shape that a little bit, take any inequities out that you might have, so you get that nice tight fit. And it doesn't matter how far this lip goes over into this. Ideally, it would go halfway, but that makes an awfully long, thin piece of wood. So what you mostly want is a curve that accepts the size of dowel that you're using. And your sandpaper is going to help you do that a lot. Then, drill this hole small all the way through. The camera may show you where I made my mark. This piece goes to this piece. Mark this side, turn around, mark that side, but drill your pilot hole very, very small all the way through. Then drill the hole in here for the screw, big enough to let the screw pass through easily.
This is just a brass cup hook, which is pretty much what they've always used, only it used to be that there's a whole row of them along here, but you do need at least one guide. We've only put this on one side, but the ones they sell have the same thing on the other side, a sliding adjuster and a second cup hook. And I think for plying I may need to do that when I'm reversing the direction of spinning, and I can add that in a few minutes.
So pretty much that's all there is to it. It's not a big problem, but I think you might enjoy making your own. Whenever you can, learn to replace the things that wear out. You can have fun doing it, and then you know the next time something goes wrong, I'll just make another one.
I'm really enjoying it. Thanks, Jack.